Hello, everyone. Wow, I've even got on heels. I'm kind of short for this podium. How are you all? It's so good to be here. I want to thank Spark and Misty and her husband for the invitation. Just a beautiful setting here, an event. How does it feel to be gathered at a big conference with no masks on? So amazing to see all of your beautiful faces. Can I pull this down? Is anybody going to be upset with me if I do that? Is that better? Okay, great. I didn't want to be stuck behind this podium, and so I asked for a handheld mic. Well, we survived 2020. Hallelujah. The year everyone started a podcast, right? What a great time to launch a new podcast network. Brilliant, Misty. For a couple of years, people had been asking me about launching a podcast. Charisma Magazine had offered for me to be a part of their network. And honestly, I was super busy. I was flying all over the country, getting, cushy speaker fees, and things were going amazing. And I didn't have time for a podcast and didn't see the need for it. I did not need the extra work when I already was a homeschooling mom having to, travel to these speaking engagements. And then COVID hit and we were no longer flying around and speaking, and events came to an absolute halt. The really interesting thing is that I also had significant personal tragedy hit my life at the exact same time that COVID hit. And so it honestly, the timing of it was convenient for me, although it was convenient for all of us because I didn't just fall off the face of the earth. Everyone fell off the face of the earth. And so then I had a meeting with, I'm so blessed to be able to work with my two daughters. My two oldest daughters work with me in the ministry and in the business. And we had a business meeting and we said, we are going to launch a podcast. We had to pivot. And that's what you do. There are times when surprises hit you and you just have to pivot and be flexible. The great thing about podcasts is that they serve multiple purposes. You can obviously get sponsors and create some income through a podcast, but we didn't start our podcast for income. It has not been income producing for us yet necessarily, and we didn't just start it for downloads, and I didn't have any products that I was selling. Some people are selling things through their podcasts, but we started the podcast for content on social media because social media is where my voice is most active, and it's a forum and another way to help people and to get your message and your voice out there. On my podcast, we have been fighting for the unborn, fighting sex trafficking, sharing the gospel, inspiring the bride of Christ for spiritual revival. We have been training leaders to better handle abuse in marriages in their church. We have been equipping spouses to navigate their spouse's porn addiction, teaching on healthy boundaries in relationships, and even dealing with narcissists in your life. We have had so many amazing guests. Lila Rose, founder and president of Live Action, we've interviewed her. Ken Harrison, who's the chairman and CEO of Promise Keepers, who are about to have a really big event in Dallas. If you don't have your tickets yet, make sure you get your tickets for your husband or brother or sons to go to the big stadium rally right here in the Dallas area. It's next month, I believe. So we've had amazing guests. I just had Victor Marks. You have got to go to my YouTube channel and listen to the interview with Victor Marks. Wow, so powerful, so anointed. Bring your tissues. Amazing interview. But I have been doing all of this from my basement while I'm homeschooling my children, during the most traumatic year of my life. Bam. If I can do this, you can do this too. And I know we have quite a few people here who haven't launched their podcast yet, and you are in the midst of launching it. And that's why I want to share some really practical tips with you about a successful podcast. And then I want to go a little bit more big picture and inspire you on how to stay the course. And trust me, if I can stay the course on this during the year that I just had, you can stay the course too. So I learned very quickly, guys, that you want to schedule guests who have something that they are wanting to get out to the public. Think about that guest that you would love to have, okay, your top 2 or 3 guests, and you're thinking, they'll never come on my podcast. I'm not big enough. My name isn't big enough. There's no way they'll come on my podcast. You will be so surprised when that guest has a book that they're launching or a e-course they're launching, a marriage course they're launching. You'll be amazed who will come on your podcast when they have something to promote. So, as you're scrolling through social media and you're on different influencers' pages, when you see that Lila Rose, for instance, has a new book out, Fighting for Life, that's the time where you contact her on her website, contact her agent, and you ask if they would be willing to come on your podcast. I'm telling you, you're 10 times more likely to capture that guest if they have something they're trying to market. Victor and Eileen Marks had a marriage course that they have just launched. It was the perfect time for me to have Victor on. Ken Harrison had the Dallas event that he was needing to get out there. And so it was the perfect time to have them on. So maybe they are busy and they wouldn't necessarily usually take your offer, take you up on your offer, but make sure you strike when the guest has something they're wanting to promote. Also, it's very important that you learn how to repurpose your podcast content. Get more mileage out of your podcast than just one episode. There's no reason to stop at one episode. I would encourage you to go to my Instagram page, which is just Elizabeth Johnston with a T, Ton, and look at the way my brilliant daughter, who works for me, repurposes my podcast content. I have one episode, and then that's maybe 30 minutes long, and then she splits those episodes up into 3-minute bite-sized clips, 4-minute, 5-minute video clips. By the way, this works because we capture the video while I'm doing the podcast. So, and again, I mean, y'all, we got it so ghetto rigged. You have no idea how ghetto rigged this thing is. In my basement, we do not have expensive equipment. We bought a cheap microphone. We bought a couple of lights from Amazon. And then my daughter has a, what do you call it? DSLR, has a DSLR camera. For me, we actually have 2. Both of my daughters have DSLR cameras, and so we have 2 angles. You don't have to do 2 angles. You can only do one DSLR. Go ahead and capture the video while you're capturing the audio in your podcast microphone. Bam, you just got a ton of content that you can work with and post on social media. And my daughter places these overlays on the actual video itself so that it really stands out. And as you're scrolling, you stop when you see the video of 2 ladies talking about how to deal with pornography in your marriage. Right? You're much more likely to stop when you see those big fat overlays over the video. So repurpose your content and get a lot of mileage out of it. Also, it's very important that you diversify, that you don't put all of your eggs in one basket, as they say in investing. It's the same way with your content and your platforms on social media. So if you put all of your eggs in YouTube and then you get maybe banned from YouTube, or your YouTube channel isn't high traffic at the moment or going very well, you're going to find yourself really struggling to get your message out there. I was, right before the presidential election, I was vocal, very vocal about the election. and I got demonetized from Facebook. I'm actually monetized on Facebook, where I have ads inside my videos and ads inside my articles, my blog articles. And so they pulled my monetization because they did not like what I was saying about the election. And they can do that. It's their platform, and they are very subjective. And no, it's not fair. But that's what happened. And so I was demonetized for weeks. I was able to get back up, but they have me very throttled, where the algorithms control how many people are seeing my content. But had I not been already diversified and had a good, strong presence on multiple social media platforms, that would have potentially been devastating to me. During the election time as well, do you remember when everyone started going over to Parler? To that platform, because there are a lot of strong voices over there. I mean, this isn't just some little social media network that nobody's over there. You've got Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Fox News, a lot of people. I mean, Donald Trump's campaign manager was on Parler. And so I went over to Parler when I don't typically go over to these other alternative platforms. And I had already amassed 75,000 followers over at Parler. And then do you remember? Google deleted the Parler app, and overnight I lost 75,000 followers. And it was no control that I had over it, right? And so, had that again been my only platform, I would have been in trouble. So, you've got to diversify. And I want to encourage you, having your own website is critical, and it's too inexpensive, too easy, and too cheap not to have your own website. Make sure you have your own website where you are able to link whatever platform you're using to post your podcast episodes. You can link to that and have a podcast page on your website, and make sure that people can find you there. Because if you are deleted from these social media sites, they can find you. They can Google your name, they can find your website, and they can hear the great content that you're putting out there. Newsletter list. I cannot emphasize this enough. My newsletter list has been life changing for me. To be able to inbox and reach someone in their inbox, guys, is completely different from hoping they stumble across your content on social media, when we know that the big tech companies are controlling who sees what on social media. So, growing your email list is very important. Encouraging people to sign up to receive your emails, and producing content, frankly, that is going to interest them to sign up to receive your emails. Don't be spammy, don't overwhelm them with emails, but diversify and make sure you've got that email list, so that you can it's as good as being able to call someone or text someone when you have their email address. I want to start going a little bit big picture here for a few minutes, and just encourage you in your podcast journey to not be someone, don't try to be someone that you're not, to be authentic. Don't switch your brand based on what you think just people want to hear, even though it's not what you're passionate about. It's so easy to compare ourselves to others right now in this digital age, and to imitate what other people are doing. And imitation is a bad look, guys. We don't, that is not what we want to do. I'm never going to be the trendy TikTok star who knows all the cool buzzwords, okay? I'm a 45-year-old, battle tried homeschool mom with 10 kids and a lot of stretch marks to prove it, okay? And what I'm passionate about is completely different than the 20-year-old TikTok star, and I can't try to imitate what he or she is doing. I don't like when people pander obscenity to children. Anybody, can I get an amen? Okay, I'm passionate about that. I don't like when unborn babies are killed. I don't like when people exploit their power to abuse others. And I love Jesus with all of my heart. And I am going to talk about these topics until I'm blue in the face and I'm not ashamed of it. So be authentic. Don't replicate and regurgitate what you see other people doing on their podcast. That will come across as very stale. Also, ask yourself, what life experiences do you have and do you bring to the table that others can benefit from? Do not downplay the importance of your life experiences. Basically, the crap that life has thrown at you was for a purpose. And you can use those experiences to impact other people's lives. It's not always comfortable to share from our personal experience, but it is the soft spot of authenticity. And that is what is going to interest your listener the most. For instance, I recently did a podcast on narcissism, and I was completely clueless about how it would connect with my audience. It felt really off brand for me for years. My brand has been faith, family, and freedom. And I've done a lot of religious liberty content and a lot of pro-life content. If you've been following me, you know that that's really my sweet spot and has been for years. And so to do a podcast on narcissism, it just felt off brand, and I did not know how it would go, but I was passionate about it. Let me tell you what my two most popular podcast episodes have been so far. And I just started in January. Okay, January 2021. They have been niche topics. The first one, how to deal with pornography in your marriage. And the second one, what you wish you had known about the narcissist in your life. Neither one of them were in the vein necessarily of what you would think of when you think of the subtitle faith, family, and freedom. But I was passionate about these topics because of things that I have gone through in my own personal life, and they were my two most popular episodes yet. So don't become a slave to a brand. Definitely follow your passion as you podcast. You got into this thing because you were passionate about something, right? Something excited you. And so I want to encourage everyone to follow that. And if you're not, if you feel like you're a slave to a brand, it might be time to take a moment, step back, and reassess. And let me share this little gem with you. I received a text from a woman in her 20s who I know in business, and she told me, we were talking about another thing we were doing together in business, and she said, your podcast episode on narcissism really impacted me. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, I chose life for my baby. And I'm sitting there trying to read through the lines of her text. She's talking about my narcissist video. And I said, oh my gosh, did you leave your relationship? Because I knew she was dating a man. And she said, yes, I did. I said, oh my gosh, he wanted you to kill the baby. And she said, yes, he did. And my episode on narcissism saved a baby's life. Go figure. Because I was following my heart and my passion. Let me tell you another story. Just last night, I got chill bumps. In the hotel room, I got an email from a woman who has been sex trafficked for years. And she told me, I got out alive. And she said, I stumbled across a video of yours and I gave my life to Christ because of the video. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what video? I was like, first of all, I congratulated her and just praised God with her that she was alive. And I said, what video was it? And she said, it was one of your videos, pro-life videos, when you did the event, the day of mourning. So once again, my pro-life video helped this sex trafficked woman give her life to Jesus Christ. Such an unlikely connection and topic, but when you're following your passion and producing content that connects with people, you have no idea the potential to change people's lives. Never compromise truth for likes, ratings, or income. This is very important. Never compromise priorities for promotion. Be governed by truth and righteousness and never be bought or intimidated. Some of you are going to be offered deals that are going to require you to compromise. Don't you dare take that deal. And I'm going to share a couple of stories with you. Years ago, I had an agent come to me. I did not have an agent. I was just starting out. I'm a little mommy, blogger who makes these videos, and very few people know who I am. And I was starting to write a book, and I had a man who was very connected in Nashville, Tennessee, very connected in the publishing industry, in the entertainment industry, in Christian media. And oh my word, this man promised me so much. And it was really exciting. And everybody was telling me, go for it, sign with him. He's so connected. He'll sell you a ton of books, and you're going to just have these huge speaking engagements and all this stuff. But he told a joke that did not sit right with me. He told me a joke. And I did not feel right about this man's character. And I said no. I just could not get peace about it. I asked God to give me peace, and he did not give me peace. And I told him no, and it did not make sense from a worldly perspective. But God saw my no. He saw it. He saw that I prioritized faithfulness to him over promotion. And I thought it was important that I not be yoked with the wrong people, even if I could benefit from those people, that I not be yoked with bad apples. Guess what? God got me on Fox and Friends and a bestseller on my book without that agent. I did not need him. I did not need to compromise to get him. And now I am so blessed to have a wonderful, godly, selfless Christian agent. He's right back there. Charles, stand up and wave at everybody. Charles Doris. Such a wonderful, kind, selfless man that God has blessed me with because I waited on him and I placed the emphasis on my priorities and not on promotion. You know, Daniel didn't have to compromise to climb the ladder, did he? Joseph didn't compromise to become second in command in Egypt, and you must not compromise either. Either we believe God sees all and is in control of all, or we don't. When you start compromising in your podcast journey, in your ministry journey, your business journey, in order to help God get you somewhere, you're basically saying, in essence, one of two things. Either, number one, that you believe God does not see all, and he is not in control. Oh, he won't see this. He won't know about this. Or you believe that God's not actually doing a good job and that you can give God a leg up, right? And he does not need our help. If we believe that God sees everything, that he's in control, and that he's doing a really good job, much better than we can do, then we will not compromise. God will not bless that kind of mess. And lastly, I want to talk about being faithful to what God has given you. This is the secret to success. If I could say anything to you that would leave an impact on you, and if I could get anything deep down in your soul after the journey that I have walked through over the last many years, it will be this one thing. If you will be faithful in what God has given you right now, you will succeed. Promotion comes from the Lord. If you are not being faithful with what God has given you, you will not succeed. Period. Full stop. If there's anything I could get deep down in you, it would be that. Skills are great, giftings are great, but they will only take you so far if you're not being faithful with what you have. Are you a faithful wife, a faithful husband, a faithful father, mother? That is the question. And I know it has nothing to do with your podcast, right? I promise you, as sure as I'm standing here behind this podium, it has everything to do with your success. You might say, I see sinful people succeed all the time. Look at the Hollywood elite. Wait a minute, we're in a different kingdom than them. It's completely different in God's kingdom. If you're sitting here at this Spark podcast, you're doing God's work and you're in God's kingdom and you're putting the name of God next to your podcast. It's a different kingdom. They're in a kingdom where you sin to get up. We're in a kingdom where when you start compromising, you are on your way down. God pulls down one and exalts another based on things that only He can see going on behind the scenes. Never forget that. Take the baby steps that God places before you and do them well. Be faithful, and God will give you more. Luke 16:10, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is unrighteous with very little will be unrighteous with much. I pray God's blessing on all of your podcasts and ministry endeavors, and thank you so much. God bless you.